Listen, before you watch another video or read another post about being authentic, answer this. Do people actually trust you? Not the polite nods, not the superficial likes, but real trust. The kind that hands you responsibility, money, secrets, opportunities. If that question makes your chest tighten, good. That feeling is horsepower. You can turn it into momentum. Trust is not a cute trait. It's not something you put on like a jacket for interviews and strip off when the pressure comes. Trust is a currency, a tool, and a living habit. It decides who hires you, who bets on you, who stays when things get rough. If you want influence, better relationships, or the freedom to move faster in life, you must learn to earn, protect, and multiply trust. And you don't do that with promises. You do it with predictable action. Here's the hard truth. People don't trust intentions. They trust patterns. Intentions are fog. Actions are a map. You can say the right things, feel the right things, and still be untrustworthy. Because trust isn't built on the volume of your words. It's built on the ratio of your words to your follow-through. The moment you stop matching talk with action, you start spending your credit. So stop asking people to believe you. Make them have to question believing you. Start with the smallest promise you can make to yourself and keep. Wake up 15 minutes earlier and do what you said. Reply to one message within the same day. Finish the draft you started. Those micro promises are the atoms of reputation. Compound them weekly and people begin to see a pattern. This is someone who does what they say. This is someone who is reliable. Predictable reliability is seductive. It attracts collaborators, friends, and clients because people don't have to invest energy guessing who you are. You will meet resistance. Old habits, comfort, pride, they all whisper excuses. It's not the right time. They won't notice. I'll do it later. That language is corrosive. Replace it with a new rule. Show up on the smallest commitments. Do not let later be the anchor that sinks your credibility. If you want to be trusted for the big tasks, projects, relationships, leadership, you must show you can be trusted for the small ones first. Transparency is a muscle. Use it. Tell people what you're doing and why, but more importantly, tell them what you cannot do. I can't get that to you today is far more trustworthy than I'll try. When you set realistic boundaries and then meet them, you create a space of predictability. Vulnerability without boundaries is chaos. Vulnerability with honesty is gravity. It pulls people in and anchors relationships. Reputation is a compound interest account. One misstep is not always ruin. Repeated missteps are. That's why consistency matters more than charisma. You might charm someone today with witty conversation or clever promises, but if you fail to deliver next week, charm becomes bait. The world rewards the quiet, steady person who shows up again and again. That person becomes a node in networks, someone others route opportunities through. Become that node. There is also a language people read beyond your words, your behavior, timeliness, and the way you handle setbacks. Notice how the trusted people around you handle mistakes. They own them quickly, explain what happened, and outline the fix. They don't bury errors. They don't invent excuses. Ownership rebuilds trust faster than any apology ever will. When you own the problem, you demonstrate competence plus integrity. That combination is magnetic. Practice radical follow-through. Don't be the person who promises a summary and never sends it. Don't be the one who says, "We'll talk," and disappears for weeks. These small betrayals stack like interest on a debt you didn't sign up for. Create a follow-through system. A simple habit like every request gets a response within 24 hours, or every meeting ends with a defined next step. Systems remove the drama from reliability. They make your promises mechanical, not emotional. And mechanical promises are kept because they're not dependent on willpower alone. Remember, trust is earned in inches and lost in miles. One thoughtful action can begin to build trust, but one obvious lie will end it. Lies are shortcuts that blow up in your face. Never take the shortcut. Your shortcuts are slow. Careful work, clear communication, and steady results. That is how empires of trust are built. Let's talk about integrity. Integrity is not about never making mistakes. It's about how you respond to them. If you miss a deadline, do you ghost, or do you write a clear note, what went wrong, what you will do to fix it, and the new timeline? That note alone can change the trajectory of their trust. People respect clarity. When you are clear, you give others the dignity of knowing where they stand, and dignity breeds loyalty. Now, a short word about authority. There's an ugly way to push people to trust you, manipulation, and there's a powerful way, competence and evident care. Influence built on manipulation collapses because it's brittle. Influence built on competence and evident care lasts. If you want to have real sway over others, focus on making your actions worthy of being followed. Learn your craft. Do the small work others avoid. Be useful. The person who consistently creates value becomes trusted because trust follows results plus intention. You might have heard lines from old school thinkers. We become what we think about, a phrase that keeps showing up from thinkers like Earl Nightingale. Good. Your inner world shapes your outward patterns. If your inner script is chaotic, like I'm unreliable or people will always take advantage, you will act to confirm it. Change the script. Train your internal voice to keep commitments, to celebrate small wins, and to refuse self-sabotage. Here's a practical drill for the next week. Write down 3 micro-promises you will keep every day. They must be specific, measurable, and small enough that you cannot rationalize a miss. Examples: send the Friday update by 3 p.m. Spend 20 minutes on the proposal before lunch. Respond to customer messages within the same business day. Do it every day, no exceptions. At the end of each day, mark them done or not. If not, write 1 sentence explaining why and what you will change. That sentence is your accountability engine. Another non-negotiable: practice the art of explaining delays. When you're late, don't disappear. Send a note: I hit an obstacle. Here's what happened. I can deliver by X, or I can do Y as a compromise. People will forgive delays if you communicate before they wonder. Silence breaks trust. Explanation rebuilds it. Finally, understand that trust is reciprocal. If you want people to be open with you, you must be open with them. That does not mean airing everything. It means sharing truth in a way that invites connection. When you ask for help, be specific. When you offer feedback, be grounded in behavior, not character. When you praise, be precise. Generic praise is noise. Precise recognition is a bridge. You have one real choice in front of you now. You can keep leaning on charm, on promises, on the empty currency of intentions, and watch your opportunities ride past. Or you can start doing the invisible, boring work that makes people bet on you. Micro-promises, radical follow-through, clear ownership, and steady competence. Which route will you take? Write a comment below right now telling me one small promise you will keep for the next 7 days. Specific and measurable. Be bold. Name it. Then answer this: what was the last promise you broke, and why did it happen? Part 2. If you want people to trust you, you must first be someone worth trusting, and that starts inside. Trust cannot be pasted over insecurity or self-doubt. It either grows from a steady inner foundation, or it crumbles the first time pressure knocks. So if you felt the challenge in part 1, good. Now we dig where the roots are. This is where your private habits and inner voice either betray you or back you up. Your inner dialogue is the operating system of your life. Quiet, repetitive phrases you say to yourself: I'm not ready, I'll fail, I don't deserve this. They are not harmless thoughts. They shape behavior, posture, tone, and ultimately the actions others see. People aren't reading your brain, they're reading the output. If your internal script says unreliable, your actions will mirror that script even when you consciously want something different. Rewriting that script is not mystical, it's methodical work. Start by noticing the negative loop. For 3 days, catch the first thought that pops up when you face a commitment. Is it a supportive, clear prompt or a self-sabotaging whisper? Write it down, not to judge, but to map the pattern. Awareness is the first act of reclaiming agency. When you see the loop, you can interrupt it. Beliefs are the deep drivers. A belief like, people will take advantage of me, will make you guarded and inconsistent, an unreliable partner. A belief like, I am competent and worth others' time, makes you show up, explain, and follow through. The change begins with small experiments. Act as if the new belief is true in micro situations. Say yes to a small responsibility and keep it. Let a single successful completion become evidence that over time, belief rewires. Vulnerability is not a flaw, it's a currency of connection, but it must be used with skill. You don't broadcast every fear or weakness to everyone. You share the right part of your truth with the right people at the right time. This kind of calibrated vulnerability builds trust because it signals honesty without inviting chaos. Think of it as tuned disclosure, enough transparency to be human, not so much that you erode your own boundaries. Boundaries are underrated in the conversation about trust. Some people equate trust with total openness, but that's a shortcut to exhaustion and resentment. Trust thrives when people know where they stand. Clear boundaries say, I am reliable within this frame. When you set a boundary and defend it calmly, you teach others how to treat you. Boundaries are not walls, they are clarity. Your habits are the scaffolding of your character. If you want to be trusted, adopt habits that make reliability automatic. I want you to build 3 daily rituals that are tiny but non-negotiable. Example rituals are a 5-minute morning plan where you list 3 promises for the day, a midday check-in where you mark progress on those promises, and an evening review where you record 1 win and 1 missed promise and why. These rituals are boring in the beginning, and they're sacred because they make reliability non-negotiable. Discipline is simply the repetition of small, aligned choices. The subconscious is where most of your automatic responses live. You can't always reason your way out of a pattern because your brain prefers economy. Repetition rewires. That's why rehearsals matter. Practice the behavior you want until it becomes the new default. If you want to be the person who always replies to messages, rehearse the reply ritual until it's automatic. If you want to be the person who owns mistakes, rehearse the ownership script. Brief statement of what happened, plan to fix, and timeline. Rehearsal converts intention into reflex. There's a powerful tool here most people misuse: language. The way you phrase commitments shifts your follow-through. Compare, I'll try to send it versus I will send it by Friday at 4 p.m. Specific language creates a contract in your mind and with others. Make promises measurable. Vagueness manufactures escape routes. Specificity closes them. Now, a reality check. Pride will push you to look competent and hide faults. That's toxic to trust. Authentic competence looks like this. You know your strengths and you own your deficits. When you admit a gap and present a plan to cover it, you demonstrate strategic control rather than weakness. People prefer leaders who are honest about limits and fierce about fixing them. We can borrow a line from the classics without worshiping them. Earl Nightingale said something like, "We become what we think about," and that rings true here. Think reliability, act reliably. Create small wins and let them become your identity. Identity is sticky. Once you start calling yourself someone who keeps promises, your actions will align because your mind works to reduce cognitive dissonance. Let's be tactical. Here are 3 practices to embed this inner transformation. Public micro accountability. Tell one person, a friend or colleague, a small promise you will keep for the next 5 days. Ask them to check in. Social friction increases follow-through. The ownership note. When you fail, write a short note. What happened, what you accept responsibility for, how you will make it right, and by when. Send it quickly. Ownership notes are trust surgery. They heal faster than silence. The rehearsal loop. For any recurring trust-critical interaction you have, client updates, team syncs, personal check-ins, rehearse the structure. Start meetings with a 1-sentence summary and with a clear next step and deadline, and use the same closing line every time. Repetition trains others to predict you. These practices are not theoretical. They produce visible behavior that others can count on. Over time, as your internal beliefs adjust to the evidence of your actions, trust will become less fragile and more structural. One more thing before you act. Be ruthless with excuses. Excuses are ego-preserving stories that collapse trust. Replace explanation with accountability. If you need to explain, make the explanation brief and immediately follow it with what you will do. People don't demand perfection, they demand clarity and effort. Now, let's make it personal. For the next 7 days, I want you to pick one belief you suspect is running your default behavior. Maybe it's, I'm not worthy, or I must avoid conflict, or if I'm honest, I'll lose something. Name it. Then pick one micro behavior that directly contests that belief and practice it daily. If your belief is, I must avoid conflict, your micro behavior might be, once a day, express a clear preference in a low-stakes situation instead of deflecting. If your belief is, I'm not worthy, your micro behavior could be acknowledging one contribution you made in a conversation. Here's a concrete script you can use for ownership and clarity. I missed the mark on X. Here's what happened. I own that. I propose Y to fix it and will complete by Z. Short, direct, actionable. Use it the moment you err. And finally, because this is about action, not introspection alone, I want you to share in the comments below the single belief you are going to challenge this week and the exact micro behavior you will do to break it. Don't generalize, be specific. Then answer this. What is the one secret you've been protecting to avoid looking weak? And how might revealing it selectively actually help you gain trust? Part 3. If Part 1 gave you the outer map, and Part 2 turned the soil of your inner world, this part is the bridge, the actual way you move between you and everyone else. Listening, speaking, and the invisible signals that make people feel safe. Communication is where trust either blooms or withers. You can be brilliant privately, but if you don't communicate in a way that other people can read as reliable, nothing changes. So let's practice the way you connect. First, shut up more. Sounds simple, and it is. Most people listen with half an ear while preparing their next point. Real listening is an action, not a pause between sentences. When someone speaks, your job is to receive fully first, then respond. That simple shift, receive before reply, transforms conversations. People feel seen. When people feel seen, they relax. When they relax, they open. When they open, trust grows. Active listening is a skill you can train. Try this drill. For one conversation each day, listen for 90% of the time and speak for the remaining 10%. Your only aim is to accurately reflect back what you heard. Use short phrases. So what I hear is, or it sounds like you're saying, paraphrase, don't judge. If you can repeat someone's position in a way that makes them nod, you've built a bridge. Reflection shows attention. Attention is a trust magnet. Ask better questions. People answer the questions you give them. Shallow questions get shallow answers. Deep questions open doors. Replace "How are you?" with "What's the part of your work today that matters most to you?" Or "What would make this interaction useful for you?" One practical line that opens space is "Help me understand what you need from me right now." That single sentence hands control to the other person and signals you're here to be useful, not to score points. Mind your body. Communication is 70% nonverbal. Posture, eye contact, tone. If you nod while checking your phone, you're sending two messages, and only one of them is useful. When you want someone to trust you, align your face, your hands, and your time with your words. Lean in when appropriate. Mirror small gestures subtly because it builds rapport, because the other person perceives similarity. But mirror with restraint. Navel a miming and sustained but not staring eye contact create comfort. Tone and pacing matter more than the words you choose. You can say "I made a mistake" in a way that softens ownership, or you can say it with calm firmness that signals competence. Work on your delivery. Slow down when you want to be believed. Fast words sound evasive. Controlled pace communicates thoughtfulness. Feedback is where many relationships derail. People either avoid it or weaponize it. Trust-preserving feedback follows a simple pattern. Fact, impact, ask. Start with the observable fact. During the meeting, the report wasn't ready. Then say the impact. That meant we couldn't finalize the budget. Then ask a question. What do you need to make that happen next time? This pattern protects dignity and invites problem solving instead of blame. Keep it short, specific, and future-focused. Apologies are a repair tool, not a surrender. A good apology has three parts: acknowledgement, responsibility, and remedy. Example: I missed the deadline. I own that. Here's how I'll fix it and when. No qualifiers, no shifting blame, no long-winded excuses. The speed of your apology and the clarity of your remedy are often more persuasive than the error itself. People forgive competence and candor. Empathy is not agreement. You can empathize without conceding. "I hear how frustrated you are" does not mean you're right. It means you understand the emotional truth of the person across from you. Use empathy to validate feelings and then move to a constructive channel. Validation is not capitulation. It's recognition that lowers defenses and allows practical solutions. Silence is a tool. Don't fear pauses. After you ask a question, let the silence sit. People often fill silence with deeper honesty. Give the other person space to think and speak. Learning to sit with silence makes your presence feel steady and confident, both qualities that build trust. There are battle-tested verbal scripts you should memorize because they make your actions predictable and therefore trustworthy. Two examples. Ownership script. I missed the mark on X. Here's what happened. Brief fact. I take responsibility. My plan to fix this is Y, and I will complete it by Z. Clarifying question. Before I act, can I confirm the outcome you want? Is speed more important, or is thoroughness the priority here? These templates remove drama. They make you look competent and intentional. Now, some exercises to embed these skills. The 3-minute reflection. Once per day, have a 3-minute conversation where you only ask open questions and then paraphrase for confirmation. No advice, no interrupting. The silent stretch. For 5 minutes in a meeting, commit to not speaking. Your job is to observe tone, interruptions, and who is being heard. After the stretch, note one pattern and one action to fix it. The repair fast. If you make a small mistake, send a one-line ownership note within 1 hour. What went wrong and when you'll fix it. Speed rebuilds confidence. The empathy drill. Practice beginning responses with a validation phrase. I can see why that would feel. Then proceed to a fact-based next step. Communication also involves reading signals you may be missing. If someone repeatedly avoids eye contact, that could mean discomfort, not deception. If emails come short and curt, it could mean overload. Always assume context before character. Instead of concluding, they're rude, test a hypothesis. You seem rushed. Is now a bad time? That small check avoids mislabeling and preserves trust. In conflicts, aim for interest-based bargaining, not position-based arguing. Ask, what outcome serves both of us? When you frame the problem as a shared puzzle, you move from adversary to collaborator. That shift alone changes the tone of negotiations and preserves long-term trust. Finally, communication builds networks of trust when you practice the generous habit of crediting others. Public recognition, Sam handled the client call and resolved X, signals you are someone who sees and values contribution. People trust leaders who distribute credit and own failures. Now, a quick nod to the classics without worship. Dale Carnegie urged us to show genuine interest in others. That instruction is tactical, not sentimental. When you are genuinely curious about someone's perspective, you gain information and build trust simultaneously. Time for action. Pick one conversation today. It can be a work sync, a family check-in, or a message you've been delaying. Use at least 2 of these tools: a validating opener, active paraphrasing, and a clear next step close. Keep it measurable. Did you paraphrase? Yes, no. Did you end with a clear next step? Yes, no. Write a comment now and tell me about that conversation. Be specific. What was the situation? Which 2 tools did you use? And what changed in the other person's response? Then answer this. When was the last time you felt truly heard? And what exactly did the other person do that made you feel that way? Part 4. Trust survives on systems. People talk about charisma and chemistry like they're the secret sauce, but long-term trust is engineered. Systems turn good intentions into repeatable outcomes. If you want others to bet on you, to give you the client, the role, the referral, you must stop relying on memory and willpower and start relying on processes that make promises deliverable even on your worst day. Think of a promise like a small contract. Contracts work when they have clear terms, owners, and deadlines. Apply that to the everyday. If you commit to a weekly update, define the format, the owner, and the delivery time. Publish it. When everyone can see the rule, people stop guessing about your reliability and start counting on it. Countability is the secret currency of predictable influence. Start with the simplest tool, the checklist. It's boring and brilliant. A checklist ensures no step is forgotten when stakes spike. Doctors and pilots use checklists to avoid catastrophe. You should use them to avoid reputational injury. Make a checklist for your core promises: client onboarding, monthly reports, launch processes, personal commitments. Run through it consistently. If a promise depends on others, your checklist should include explicit handoff points with names and deadlines so accountability doesn't evaporate between people. Next, set service-level agreements for your key commitments. SLAs are not corporate fluff, they are clarifying frame. An SLA could be client responses within 24 business hours, deliverable drafts within 5 business days, final revisions within 48 hours after feedback. When you articulate SLAs, you remove ambiguity. People prefer a reasonable, reliable timeline to vague optimism. If you can't meet an SLA, communicate early and offer recovery options. A proposed alternative, I can deliver by Thursday, or I can provide an interim summary today, preserves trust because it gives control back to the other party. Transparency tools matter. Use shared trackers, a simple spreadsheet, a Trello board, a public progress note, something both you and your stakeholders can check. Nothing rebuilds trust faster than visibility. When others can see progress, they don't have to invent stories about your reliability. Build a one-line status rhythm. Red equals blocked, yellow equals at risk, green equals on track. Update it weekly. That 5-second signal saves hours of uncertainty and reduces the energy people spend wondering whether you're reliable. Rituals create predictability. A ritual could be a weekly roundup email sent at 9 a.m. Friday, or a daily stand-up where every person states one commitment for the day. Rituals make behavior habitual and non-negotiable. They are the scaffolding for reputation. If your ritual slips, ownership is simple to detect and correct. Rituals scale trust because they externalize your commitments into time-bound markers others can rely on. Scale requires delegation with clarity. Delegation without clear expectations is abandonment. If you hand a task to someone, don't just say, "handle it." Name the deliverable, the deadline, the acceptance criteria, and who will be informed about progress. Then follow up with a lightweight check-in schedule. Delegation paired with oversight becomes multiplication. It's how leaders earn trust. They enable others to succeed and keep commitments visible. You also need constructive redundancy. Don't put trust in a single person or file. Have fail-safes. If one person is out, who covers them? If a file gets lost, is there a backup? Redundancy reduces single points of failure and signals responsibility. When your systems cover for human error, people trust you more because your reliability doesn't hinge on perfection, it's engineered. Accountability rituals are not punishment, they're corrective. Run quick retrospectives after every major deliverable. What went well, what broke, what we change. Keep the language factual and future-focused. The purpose is not shame, it's learning. When teams see problems turned into system improvements instead of finger-pointing, their trust in the process and in you as a leader deepens. Metrics matter. Track the promises you keep and the ones you miss. Create a simple metric. Promise completion rate. Calculated weekly. Number of commitments fulfilled divided by total commitments made. If your rate is below an agreed threshold, create a focused improvement plan. When you show that you measure reliability, you show you value it. Measurement turns a vague ideal into an operational priority. Financial and ethical transparency are non-negotiable in trust. Money issues destroy relationships faster than most mistakes. If finances are involved, publish clear terms, invoices, and reconciliations. If you make a pricing change, announce it early and explain the reason. Honesty about money signals you are not gaming the system, you're running it responsibly. There will be failures. Systems help you respond. Adopt the 3R framework: record, report, rectify. Record, capture the facts quickly. What happened, when, and who was involved. Report, notify stakeholders promptly with a concise statement, the situation, the impact, and an initial plan. Rectify, execute the fix, and follow up with what you learned and what you'll do to prevent recurrence. This sequence converts chaos into a predictable process. People don't expect perfection. They expect clarity and repair. If you handle breakdowns through the 3 R's, you'll lose less trust in the long run, often even gaining trust because people see your competence under pressure. Public commitments deepen trust but require courage. When you make a public pledge, finish a project by a date, launch a product, or change behavior, you create social friction that supports follow-through. Use public commitments selectively. They're powerful because they invite accountability partners and signal seriousness. But only go public when you've created the system to deliver, otherwise you risk reputational damage. Now, practical templates you can use immediately. The promise template. I will deliver by date or time. Acceptance criteria, brief list. If I hit an obstacle, I will notify person by time frame with a revised plan. The status line. Project, green, yellow, or red. Current blocker, X. Next step, Y. ETA, Z. The delegation note. Assigned to, name. Deliverable, what. Deadline, when. Check-ins, days or times. Use these instead of vague affirmations. Replace "I'll handle it" with a filled promise template and watch skeptics become believers. Automation can free your credibility from your intermittence. Use tools to automate routine promises, scheduled emails, automated reminders, and recurring tasks. Automation doesn't replace personal ownership, but it removes the fragile edge of forgetfulness. When emails go out on time because a scheduler did its job, your reliability becomes institutional, not emotional. Culture amplifies systems. If you lead a team, create norms around how promises are handled. No ghosting, response window agreements, and public retro rituals. Norms are persuasive because they turn individual behavior into group expectation. Good norms protect your reputation and scale trust across your organization. Finally, a story to anchor this. A small agency I know lost a major client because one person promised a deliverable and disappeared. The fix was not a pep talk, it was a system overhaul. They introduced a promise template, weekly status boards, and a rule: any change to a deadline must be logged and communicated within 24 hours with a proposed recovery plan. Within 3 months, their promise completion rate shot up and the client returned. Why? The client could now predict outcomes. Predictability rebuilt the relationship faster than any personal apology could. Here's your practical assignment for this part. Run a trust audit this week. Pick 3 recurring promises you make, personal or professional. For each, create a promise template, set an SLA, and add a visibility tool, shared doc or board. After 1 week, calculate your promise completion rate and write one systemic change you will keep. Now, act. Share in the comments which 3 promises you audited, the SLA you set for each, and your promise completion rate after 1 week. Be specific. Then answer this. Which system do you fear implementing because it will expose your weak spots? And why might that exposure be the very thing that frees you to grow? Part 5. Here's the final truth. Trust is not a campaign. It's a way of life. You don't switch it on for a project and off for the weekend. If you want influence that sticks, relationships that endure, and a reputation that follows you like an open door, you must live trustfully, not perform it. This is the part where everything you've learned becomes a lifestyle, integrated into how you breathe, work, and lead. Start with alignment. Does the life you show match the life you want to be known for? Too many people curate an image for the highlight reel and then act contrary in private. That gap is a leak. Close it. Let your calendar, your messages, your habits, and your language tell the same story. When your public actions and private systems align, people see coherence, and coherence looks like integrity. Balance openness with boundaries. Being trustworthy doesn't mean being endlessly available or emotionally raw without filters. It means being authentic within limits you set and defend. Create a simple rule. Be radically honest where it matters, and set firm boundaries where honesty would harm either party or dissipate your energy. For example, you can be transparent about progress, but protect personal time. You can admit limits, but refuse to air grievances in public. That's living trustfully, generous, disciplined, consistent. Live by a few clear principles that guide choices. Principles remove moral negotiation during pressure. They act like electrical wiring, invisible until you need them. Choose 3 personal principles. For instance, own mistakes quickly, prioritize clarity over polish, protect people, not ego. Write them down. Put them where you see them. When you face a decision, check which principle applies. Decisions made by principle build a predictable character. People don't trust the person who improvises ethics under stress. They trust the person who follows rules even when it costs them. Cultivate your circle deliberately. Trust radiates through proximity. Who you surround yourself with becomes the mirror people use to guess your habits. If your closest people are consistent, upright, and accountable, their glow rubs off on you. If they tolerate excuses and murkiness, you inherit that skepticism. Choose allies who model the reliability you want to be known for. That doesn't mean you can never help someone grow. It means your core circle should reflect the standards you won't compromise. Teach trust to others. One of the most powerful signs of integrity is the willingness to help others practice it. Mentor someone in a habit of accountability. Publicly credit teams. Create small rituals in your group where people state one promise for the week and report back. Teaching trust plants it in your ecosystem, and when others practice what you preach, your credibility multiplies because it's no longer just your success story, it's a culture you foster. Guard your energy. Trust thrives when you have bandwidth to keep commitments. Burnout is the enemy of reliability. If you promise too much, you become a series of broken assurances. Be strategic with your yeses. Say no to tasks that will dilute the promises you've already made. Saying no is not cowardice, it is stewardship of your word. People respect boundaries more than they respect constant availability because boundaries mean what you do have is reliable. Think long term. Trust compounds like interest. Small, consistent acts today produce exponential returns later. Show up for the tough seasons, the times when being consistent costs you reputation, money, or comfort. Those seasons test you, but they also teach you. Leaders who endure adversity with honesty and generosity create legacies. Napoleon Hill, in his old way, argued that persistence shapes destiny. Apply that persistence to reliability, and you'll build not just relationships, but assets of influence. Create a ritual for recalibration. Once a month, pause and ask, which promises have I kept? Which have I missed? What patterns are emerging? This monthly audit keeps you honest and alive. Don't make audits into judgment sessions. Treat them as engineering reviews. If a system fails, tweak the system, don't blame the people. Small course corrections prevent catastrophic losses. Humility and gratitude. When you benefit from someone's trust, thank them. Public acknowledgement of people who trusted you, clients, partners, friends, does 2 things. It honors them and it signals that you appreciate being trusted. Humility keeps pride from seeping into your decisions and turning you into a brittle version of yourself. Gratitude creates reciprocity. Reciprocity strengthens networks of trust. Prepare for legacy questions. Ask yourself, how will people describe you when you're not in the room? Are you the person who delivers on promises or the one who makes great speeches? The habits you build now answer that question. Live so people can write trustworthy things about you without worrying whether you'd contradict them later. Practice generosity, not manipulation. Influence that lasts is rooted in giving time, attention, and real value. When people feel you add value without an immediate return ask, they are more likely to believe your sincerity. Don't confuse generosity with being a doormat. Generosity paired with boundaries is a powerful attractor of trust because it shows you are both kind and capable. Teach your team or circle how to repair. Make repair a visible and respected skill. Celebrate ownership when it happens. Create awards for the most honest repair in a quarter, or simply make public an example of a well-handled mistake. These rituals normalize the idea that failure plus repair equals reliability. They reframe mistakes as opportunities to demonstrate character. Keep growing your competence. Trust isn't static. As expectations evolve, so must your skills. Invest in learning, not for ego, but to ensure you continue to do what you promise at a high level. Competence without humility is arrogance. Competence with humility is authority. Authority earns follow-through because people know you can deliver. Use narrative to anchor your trust. Tell the story of how you became someone who values reliability. Stories transmit values faster than lists. When you share the moment a broken promise cost you dearly and how you changed, people understand the stakes and why you do things differently now. Authentic stories make your principles memorable. Now, I'm going to give you 3 concrete challenges for the next 30 days. These are the capstone practices that turn the theory into identity. The 30-day promise ledger. Every morning, write one measurable promise you will keep that day and one promise you made that week you will finish. At night, mark them done or explain why not in one sentence. No excuses beyond a sentence. This ledger trains your integrity muscle. The public accountability move. Make one public commitment, a post, an email, or telling your team, and set a clear SLA for it. Update the public record weekly until it's done. Visibility increases accountability. The repair ritual. When you fail, use the ownership script within 24 hours and then post a short "What I learned" note within a week. Celebrate the learning publicly. This practice reframes mistakes into growth and increases trust because people see your evolution live. Here is the final challenge I want you to do right now. Name 3 things you want people to say about you in 5 years. Don't be vague. Write them down. Then, pick one daily action that aligns with the first statement and do it for 30 days. That is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. Before you go, drop a comment. Which 3 legacy phrases did you write? Which single daily action will you commit to for 30 days? And what is the one boundary you will enforce to protect your ability to keep that promise? Be specific. Names, phrases, and simple rituals. That specificity turns intention into traction. Final question. What would your life look like if everyone you cared about trusted you completely? And what's the smallest, courageous step you can take today to start making that a reality? If this video helped you and you want more videos like this, subscribe and hit like.